Ever feel that? Kind of like conference high? You know that feeling, right? Where you're just buzzing with new ideas.
Totally. You've got your notebook crayon full. You're like, I'm going to change the world.
Exactly. But then bam, real life comes crashing back in, work, errands, all that jazz. And those brilliant insights gone like your conference badge.
It's the worst, right? Conference hangover. It's a real thing.
It is. And it's so frustrating because we want to hold on to that momentum. So how do we do it? Well, today's deep dive is all about turning inspiration into action. We're taking a page from Kubesch.
Oh, I love her. She's a keynote speaker who really walks the walk. And she actually talks about this very thing on LinkedIn, how she had this aha moment at a photography conference.
Okay, so tell me more about this aha moment. What was the big revelation?
Well, she realized she was great at getting inspired, but not so great at the whole, actually doing something with all the amazing information.
It's relatable.
Right. Like, we get so caught up in the excitement, but then crickets. So Kubesch decided she needed a system to bridge that gap between inspiration and action.
Okay, I'm hooked. What's the magic system?
You might be surprised to hear it's not some complicated productivity hack. It's actually something pretty simple, but incredibly powerful: accountability.
Accountability. Okay,
Yeah.
so tell me more. How did that play out for Kubesch at this conference?
So she actually found an accountability partner at that conference, someone with similar goals. They connected, and get this, they're still learning from each other a year later.
Wow. A year later, there's got to be something to that.
Yeah.
I mean, why is having someone to answer to so impactful?
It's actually pretty fascinating when you look at the psychology behind it. Having that external accountability triggers what's called commitment bias. We're way more likely to follow through on something when we've put our reputation on the line, even if it's just to one other person.
Makes sense. It's like we're more likely to let ourselves down than someone else.
Exactly. Plus, there's the whole social proof element. When we see someone else working towards a similar goal, it's incredibly motivating. It's like, hey, if they can do it, so can I.
It's true. I've definitely experienced that. But I have to ask, what about those times when we're flying solo? Like when we're watching a webinar, we don't always have a conference buddy to hold us accountable then.
Right. And Kubesh actually has a really interesting approach to that. She treats webinars like you, the listener, are her accountability partner.
Whoa, that is super interesting. So it's all about shifting our mindset from passive listening to active participation.
Exactly. Like, instead of just being in the audience, what if we showed up to these webinars like we were reporting back to someone?
Okay, but how do we practically do that? I mean, am I supposed to imagine you cheering me on as I'm taking notes?
I mean, if it helps, sure. But really, it's about being intentional. Before you even hit join webinar, take a few minutes to jot down your goals. What are you hoping to get out of this? What problems are you hoping to solve?
Got it. So go in with a plan.
Yeah, and then when you're taking notes, focus on action items. Don't just summarize. Ask yourself, how can I use this specific insight? And then schedule time soon after to review and, crucially, turn those takeaways into a to-do list.
Love it. It's like your webinar notes are giving you assignments courtesy of your imaginary accountability partner.
Okay.
But let's say you are at a conference, surrounded by potential accountability buddies. How do you build your action squad in real life?
Well, Kubesh talks a lot about finding people with shared interests. So look for the people who are actively engaged, asking questions, taking notes. Those are your people.
I like it. Breaks and social events become prime networking time.
Absolutely. Those casual conversations can spark some serious connections. Oh, and Kubesh has this great tip about ditching the business cards.
What, no more awkwardly shoving cardboard squares at each other?
Nope. Connect digitally right there, on the spot, no more lost cards, and you can follow up instantly.
Genius. Okay, so find your people, ditch the business cards, what else?
Well, she's also a big fan of using conference apps to find like-minded attendees. Some even let you form mastermind groups, talk about next-level accountability.
So smart. It's like having a built-in support system before you even leave the conference.
Exactly. And, her biggest piece of advice in all of this is just to be direct. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm really interested in what you were saying about topic. Would you be open to connecting afterward and maybe being accountability partners as we try to implement some of these ideas?
Right. It's not about being pushy. It's about maximizing the value for everyone involved. So as we wrap up this deep dive into turning inspiration into action, we want to leave you with a little challenge. What's one conference insight, webinar takeaway, or maybe even just an inspiring idea that you loved but haven't acted on yet? Write it down. Tell someone about it. Better yet, find an accountability partner and make it official. Let's turn those aha moments into some real results.